Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another AFL Fantasy Fanatics pre-lockout chat ahead of round 11. Obviously, it's been a very big carnage week and plenty of people having multiple bullets. So we'll get stuck into all that and how to navigate best as you can. But I'm your host, Bales, and you can find me at BAILSDT across the socials. And joining me, as always, is my co-host and fellow AFL Fantasy Fanatic, is Tim Guest. Guesty, mate, how are you?
Mate, it's been a hell of a week, but, happy to have a bit of a break and talk about some fantasy.
Yeah, exactly, mate. Looking forward to it. Dude, you have last night, obviously, I think we had a couple of players go well, including a former member of Guesty's Gerbils and Bales Nails returning last night and going pretty well.
Oh, he'll be a must-have next week, mate. But no, I had Baz Smith, no VC on him, but also had Max Holmes. So nice score from him to start off the week.
Yeah, I'm the same. I had both those two and very, very happy with those two, which we'll touch on very, very shortly. And joining us is a special guest that's jumped on a few times on pre-lockout chat. It is number 2 coach from 2024, Coach Pom United, is Tom Hales. Tom, mate, how are you?
I'm very good, mate. I'm very good. Happy to be here. I did have the VC on Baz Smith last night.
Nice.
So don't jump at shadows and all those kind of things. The best player in the comp, just put the VC on him.
Yeah, no, good choice, mate, with the one at 26. Very happy. Is he the only player you had last night?
No, I had Max Holmes too. So I think all three of us were quite happy after Thursday night. Hopefully we're as happy on Sunday night.
Yep, exactly. That was the first watch-along I've done for a long time where the players I have did well and most everyone else's players did well. So it was a positive stream last night. Normally, there's something that happens. There's some player that either does really bad or a player that I don't own, i.e. Zach Reed, who does all the time when Essendon play, goes big and we complain. So, but yeah, last night was really good. Good game of footy. A lot of high-scoring players here. So plenty of tons. I believe there was 10 tons from all the players last night. So you had Baz Smith, Max Holmes, Ed Richards, Matt Kennedy, Tom Liberatore, Brian Myers, Tom Atkins, Jeremy Cameron, Marcus Bonapelli, and Sean Manor all tunning up. And Tim English really should have tunned up if he didn't give away those 2 free kicks in the space of like 10 seconds. Didn't have a very good last quarter there, but plenty of tons there. As you said, Baz Smith top scoring with a 126 and Holmes was very good with a 117 there. Ed Richards just absolutely smashing at the moment. I think number 1 rated player in the comp from Champion Data Ratings and 115 even with a Mullen tag. He was great. Matt Kennedy's going to be a target for us post-buy. He just gets it done week in, week out. And Brian Myers, if anyone jumped on him, kudos to you, 106. I didn't mind the play with the round 16 buy. He got it done for anyone that jumped on him. And also Sam Davidson, Tom, for anyone that had him on the bench, is he someone that if you had a Horn Francis, McRae, could you hold one of them now and take that score knowing it's a 94? And the question further to that is if you were to hold one, which one would you actually hold out of the 2?
You could hold, and I think those people who maybe have 3 bullets, it now means you definitely hold a forward and just take that 94 and run with it. I find it tough purely because I don't think any of them are going to be back around 13. So neither JHF could be back, but is he going to be half-baked?
He'll play a lot forward, I think, that first game back, I'd suspect.
And he's going to lose a lot of cash. So
I think it's going to come down to who you can trade in. I think a lot of people have to really take a haircut this week. And, even who we're thinking about going.
We'll go and we'll chat about him in a sec, yeah.
yeah. I mean, it frightens the life out of me. But, I think if you can't get to anyone you feel really confident, it is a play. Maybe you could hold one of them. Once again, who do you hold? I don't know. But yeah, I think, look, if you can get to a reasonable upgrade like a Warner and a Sinclair or, those kind of guys, I think you just got to do it.
Yep, agreed. Yeah, but the 94 very handy for those there. And MJ, if he is watching, I know he's a busy man, but if he is watching, absolutely kissed. He has him on the bench, and he's second over on the Content Creators Cup. Why can't I be gifted gifts like that? 94, and he gets to loop that on for Lindsay. So Lindsay, mate, a call out to you. I need you to get to an 80 for me this week. That would be very, very handy there. But he was great. But yeah, Guesty, you mentioned it. Tom Stewart. We're going to chat about him more on Sunday. But 92, I actually think he's an option. And he looked the best he's looked all year. He's a buy play, round 16 buy. He's cheap. I'm a sucker for punishment. Guesty, you a sucker for punishment as well?
Mate, I am spewing. So I was talking to Jordy, our other co-host, last night, just a few minutes before lockout kicked in. And at that point in time, my plan was to actually go straight into Stewart. Once again, I know. And look, when we talk about the other guy that we're trading in, I'll tell you kind of why I've gone down the path I've gone down. But yeah, it was, basically going between two $700,000 options to give me some cash next week and a bit of flexibility. And I had him, traded until I changed it last minute. But so yeah, I'm keen to go there next week, especially, I know a lot of us still got, a trainer or a Riley Bias or something like that in that defensive line. Especially with not a lot of cash going around, I think he might be someone I'll be jumping on next week, if not a Mills.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Mills or him, I think, is something there. So, yeah, very, very interesting. Quite funny that Tom Stewart, the week we don't own him, he goes well. So that's funny things happening there. But he looked great. So he looked good. There was no limp or anything like that. He was able to jump up, landed on that knee as well, and got strapped back up. No hobble or anything, which is good signs. But we know that any time Tom Stewart takes the field, he could just get injured at any point. But it is the buys, so we might get protected by best 18. But yeah, Sanders, poor score, 65. Dale, 64. Frazier, 59. So a couple of poor scores there, but not too many that people had. Bailey Dale, probably the one that hurt the most for those coaches that jumped on him. But I guess it averaged out to a 105 average, so it's not awful. But after 150, you would have thought he would have done a little bit better than that. But let's turn our attention to this week. So, Tom, trades, I think, for a lot of people, unless you've dodged every bullet, which if you did, as I've said for a few videos this week, tell me what the lotto numbers are tomorrow night, because you're dodging all the bullets and you must have all the luck in the world. But Tom, a lot of people got forced trades. I'm assuming you've got at least one. What are you looking at doing with your trades this week?
Yeah, so I've got McRae. I've not owned JHF all year, and that's kind of worked, I think.
I think it's been fine not starting him. He hasn't really burnt you at all. I think 1 week out of 120 or something, but that's it. So
yeah. So for me this week, I'm looking at bringing in Nick Martin, straight swap basically for McRae. And with the other trade, I'm with a bit of DPP and a bit of cash in the bank, I'm looking to do Caleb Daniel to Isaac Heaney.
Yeah, right. Yep. So you're keen on the Heaney train. Obviously, a few people looking at him this week. 888K.
He's the best I can get up to, and I kind of see it a bit as a buy play. I've got three weeks before his buy. I don't see him doing worse than 95 in that stint. He could go. I see him as a 95 to 102 guy for the rest of the year. I think they're getting cavalry back, which will help him get a little bit less of the attention from the opposition, which I think is a good thing for Heaney. I'm happy with the players they've brought in this week, as in Sydney. I don't think he's going to play that much time forward. So I'm going to have a little punt from my position at 4K to try and get on that guy who can push me up the ranks at a cheaper price.
Yeah, if anyone heard me giggling, just Tom's cat just kept coming in and going in the camera. That was quite funny. It was there. I don't mind the Heaney play. It's a good buy play, and I think he might get attention at some point. But I think Melbourne, Adelaide, Richmond. I don't really know exactly who. Maybe Clayton Oliver this week goes for him, but he hasn't really done a hard take. It's been more like a Dunkley. Yeah, exactly.
Then he takes him forward. That's why I like Heaney, because I think he can still put up a good score if he only plays half a game in the midfield. I see him as a high floor kind of player. So
exactly
through the buys, and that's good.
Yeah, very good point there. Guesty, I think we're doing this pretty much the same trades this week, mate. But firstly, let's go through who we're bringing in as the big dog this week. So I'm going Nick Martin. I think you're going the same, aren't you, Nick Martin?
Yeah, so I am still strongly considering Zach Merritt, and I'm hoping that, chatting with you boys today will help me make that decision. But I still feel like, Anyway, we'll talk about that.
McRae to Nick Martin for us, but then we're going Horn Francis, and we're going down to someone that is got risk written all over him, but we potentially like it. Who are we bringing in, Guesty? I'll let you tell the listeners who we're going.
I find it hard to say the name, but it's Shy Bolton at the moment. And I guess the reason for me is that, when he's getting 50% CBAs, which he has gotten for the last couple of weeks, had a couple of weeks ago as well. He does score. And I think Freo, after beating GWS last week, you can see their team changes. There's absolutely no changes whatsoever. So I think, maybe they feel like they've hit on something and they're going to try and, play this out. And then, of course, I think the other thing I can hide behind is the break even. Whereas, if we were talking previously about a Merit, he's on the other end of the scale, right? Like he's 140 odd break even. You can probably hide behind picking him up a little bit cheaper next week. So, yeah, but look, the other options are, and I like it, and I imagine you're probably the same a bit, Bales, as well, as it leaves me some cash in the bank for next week, like $100,000. And then the other choices, and then the other choices are, well, there was a Tom Stewart, but it's too late for that now, and a Callum Mills.
Dylan Moore.
But
Dylan Moore's the other one. Dylan Moore's had one good half in the last probably 6 weeks. Mills has been off for so long, whereas at least we've seen 2 really good weeks from Shea Bolton. He's got a pretty nice run just before the bye and even after the bye up until round 16. Then you trade him round 17 potentially, or worst case, you trade him at the byes. But we're probably in the similar boat, right? We're down.
It's about options as well, right? So, because I look, at first I thought I was happy with my trades. I thought it was going to be a Jack Sinclair and a Isaac Heaney. I kind of was going to run with Tom there as well, but I couldn't do it through my DPP. I got 2 forwards out. I got to bring in at least 1 forward. So then it was like, well, what are my other options? My only other option is a Jackson, which, okay, once again, he's probably going to have a good week this week. But Darcy could be back in next week, and it just becomes a 1-week play or a 2-week play at best.
So you can afford Jackson.
Yeah,
I'd be going Jackson over Bolton personally. I'm actually,
would you?
I think that the Jackson play is actually not as bad as what people think, because I don't think Darcy's playing next week. They got the bye the following week. Why would they play him with a week and then the bye? They might as well rest him for an extra 2 weeks, get him a game in the waffle or 2, and then bring him in after. And worst case is, he plays next week. You have him on as your best 18. If Darcy comes in, well, it's best 18 anyway. And then you trade him out around 13. But best case, you can hold him a bit longer and even trade his bye, if not, hold him till the end of the buys. He's only had 1 really poor score with Darcy. I think even with Darcy's played, he still actually performed okay, because Darcy's not playing 80% ruck time and Jackson's just pure forward. They're essentially splitting it. So he's still got a decent floor. And I think that his floor and flexibility, I know that you don't have Big X, so I guess that's probably where it's like
so it's
like
not
Jordy's going Jackson because it helps cover Cherry next week. So maybe in that case, you like whether you want to take on maybe Bolton, who you could keep longer, what the role is, and then save a bit of cash, or you go Jackson. That's probably sort of the debate I'd be throwing up. But in terms of Merritt v. Martin, because a lot of people, we have a few people already in the live chat asking this. I'm very comfortable in saying I'm easily Nick Martin. And a lot of people are going to say, oh, Merritt's 110 averaging midfielder, right? But if anyone has actually had a look at his run for the remainder of the year, people go, it's a good run. For Merritt, it's actually not a great run at all. And this is why I'll quickly go through it, right? So Richmond, great. He's going to smash it this week. I think he goes 130 plus tonight. Then Brisbane, think he goes pretty well as well. Carlton, George Hewitt will probably go to him. If not, I wouldn't be shocked if a Chincotta came back in next week or the week after bye, and he does a job, right? So that's a potential tag there. They always give attention to him. Then you got an Ocean Mullen tag in round 14, will definitely go to Merritt. Then a Wagner tag, and then the bye. Then they go Gold Coast Richmond, which is great. Then you go Bedford. Then the Dogs, who have been hard against, and he's scored a 54 against them last time. Then Sydney, that'll be a Jordan tag. Geelong, Mullen tag. St Kilda probably will be fine, but could be a tag there. And then Carlton again. So I actually hate the run for Merritt. I'm sure I'll bring him in at some point. He'll be too cheap to really ignore, but personally, I don't like that run at all. And don't take my word for it, because I've had a shit year, right? But I'm just saying, I don't know if Merritt is going to necessarily average 110, 115 remainder of the year personally. But we've seen one midfielder average over 110 so far, and that's Dawson. Last year we had one midfielder average over 110. That was a Trelaw. I'm not sure. I don't know, Guesty, what you think, or Tom, what you think of that. But that's just, I think Merritt's still a solid target this week. I just think I'm Nick Martin.
Merritt was a weird one last week. He was in all of the CBAs, but then he would go forward after the CBAs. I watched the game. And Merritt was not around the ball. So yes, he was at the centre bounces, but he was almost playing that kind of like the Shea Bolton role, especially what he used to play at Richmond of the centre bounce and push forward. Which seems weird for Merritt. I just don't. Brad Scott, it's a Scott. Who knows what's going on in his head? Like, who knows? Like, yeah, I think I'm Martins. I think defender forward is going to be really useful through the buys. I don't know about you. I have Lindsay as my only mid. Well, actually, Boxall got named, so that's going to be a sub and kill his cash gen.
I actually don't think he'll be sub. I reckon it will be Travali or Hunter Clark. I think Boxall will come in for McRae and he'll rest that mid like he did.
I'd love to. I'm
talking myself into it. I mean, you probably be sub.
I think after that performance against the Eagles, which was putrid by St Kilda, I think he's going to go Zach Jones and Hunter Clark, and we're going to lock it down, and we're going to play the old men this week, and just try and play the boring 70 points plays 50 points either way kind of game that Ross can play for St Kilda.
Yeah,
but that's no one's fielding Boxall, or you shouldn't be this week.
Oh, some people might be, because the benches are very dire, and that green dot has probably given people cover. So I've seen benches out there that have got 1 green dot, 2 green dots. Like it's pretty dire out there. So and especially with buys coming up, it's going to be interesting to see what people do with their 3 trades next week. But in terms of Martin, I'm a big fan of him, and Merritt, I still don't mind as well. I'm just saying that's probably my reasoning behind going Martin there, Guesty.
Great, thanks, boys.
All good, mate. And a few people have said that Merritt's like a must-have in the chat there, and you might be right. I'm just saying that the reason that I do think that there will be some attention, but I'll probably get him in at some point as well, right? So
I don't really have any good reason apart from maybe the name and just what he's done in the past. I mean, I'm certainly concerned about that role. I saw the same thing as Tom, basically starting the CBAs and moving forward. I am a little bit attracted to obviously Dreamtime at the G as well. I think he's probably going to have a really good week this week.
Mitch said he's averaged over 130 in his last 3 Dreamtime at the G games, I reckon.
And he's number 1 big boy as well. So, and he loves stepping up for games like this. So, but yeah, I agree with you on the run as well. I think, it's just hard to turn down when you've got a Nick Martin and a Zach Merritt, and Zach Merritt's cheaper than Nick Martin. It's hard to turn down a Zach Merritt.
152 break even. Like, I think cash is really tight in our teams this year, because we might, hopefully, the plethora of rookies that are playing this week hold. There's quite a few of the week before the bye rookie debuts. Let's see if they're there in a fortnight. But if cash is tight, Merritt's got a 152 break even. We can get him next week or the week after for 50, 75k cheaper. Even if he plays well tonight, gets a 105, he's dropping money.
And if he goes worse than that for some reason, which you'd think he doesn't tonight against Richmond, but if he did, drops a lot.
So I'm picking the last 5 because the one before this was a 134. But in his last 5, which were against West Coast, Collingwood, North, Sydney, and Western Bulldogs, not the easiest, not the hardest. He had 2 scores over 81 in those 5 games, including a 54. I guess he did have 2 130s in the first 4 of the season. I'm just not there in Merritt. I think Martin, with the depth forward, is definitely going to be a good play. The better play, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yep, I like it. We'll quickly touch on captains as well. So for anyone that does want the in-depth chat from me with captains, then head over to the captain's video from yesterday. Give you a bit more of an in-depth rundown there. So my top 10 captains for round 11. So I'll go through top 5, then the 6 through 10. So at number 1, got Zach Merritt, who I was just saying is maybe not as good as trading, but this week you'll get rewarded if you bring him in. Last 5, 109, 158, 125, 105, and 112 against Richmond. So really good history against them, and really gets up for these Dreamtime at the G games. And after the meetings with the old captains during the week, and the pressure Eston were under after a poor performance last week, I don't think there's anything probably more obvious than a 120 plus from Merritt this week. So he's my number 1 captain, and a great VC option if you didn't have the VC on a Baz last night. Jordan Dawson at number 2 against West Coast at home. I think he'll fill his boots here. Whether he's playing a little bit forward, which I think he will in a game like this. I think he'll play a bit forward, but I actually could see him kicking a couple of goals here and going quite well. He is at number 2. Nick Martin is at number 3. Tunned up in his last 2 against Richmond. Not big tons, but I just think this role of starting at half forward and pretty much doing whatever he wants, going to wing, half back, going in the middle, wherever he wants, I think he's going to be very good in a game like tonight. I think he'll rack up, and he's a very good VC option tonight as well. Tristan Cherry is at number 4, so really like him as a good captain option coming home on the Saturday night against Collingwood. 107 against Collingwood last year. And Collingwood haven't been as easy for rucks, but I just think the way Cherry's playing at the moment, 116 in his last 5 or last 6 games over 116. He's been very, very good. And then Marcus Bontempelli did have at number 5. Had a very good record against Geelong. 102 last night. You're not taking that as a VC. Baz at number 6. If you added the VC, definitely take that. I had a few questions with 126, and anything over 120, you just take. You don't even think about it. I'm a 110 plus guy anyway, but 120, you don't even think about it. You definitely take that. Tim English at 7. Wasn't for a bad last quarter. He actually would have probably gone 115, 120, but bad last quarter meant just the sub 95 there. Nick Dacos, I've got at number 8. I actually think he bounces back here. There's no Will Phillips, no Darcy Tucker. Tucker's out for the season anyway, but I don't see anyone in North's team that would go with him personally, unless they play a different role, like a Simpkin does some sort of run with role, but I don't really know why they would do that. But Dacos, I think, bounces back here and goes quite well. Josh Dunkley at 9. Tough match against Hawthorn, but consistency has been his thing this year, been very good. 96 and 145 in his last 2 games against Hawthorn. And I actually think this game could suit him, actually. Contested game, a lot of tackles, could see a ceiling score here. And then I've got Harry Sheezel at number 10. If he plays in defence, like I think he potentially could against Collingwood, tougher opposition, maybe plays in defence because Collingwood are a better team than Richmond. Maybe Sheezel plays in defence and goes well, but he could also play forward mid, score of 105, and that's why I've got him at number 10, because you could get sort of 1 or 2 things right. And then Rosie, Brayshaw, a couple of other options just outside, maybe Sinclair as well. I would have said Marshall if Witts was rested, but with Witts playing, I wouldn't be looking there, and maybe even a Whitfield as well. So obviously Tom has taken the VC from Baz, so he is very, very happy with that. But Guesty, I think we're doing the exact same thing this week. We're VC Martin, and I think you're captain on maybe Dacos if it doesn't work, and I'm captain Dawson. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, well, look, the VC depends on whether I do the Martin and Bolton trade or whether I do the Sinclair and Jackson trade. So, because I might not have Martin there to VC. So for me, it would actually be a VC probably on Nick Dacos into Jordan Dawson.
Yes. Yep. There you go. Yep. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. I forgot you had Jordan Dawson actually. So yeah, Dawson will be your captain obviously on the way home. And yeah, same for me. And hope you get Nick Martin if you go that way and put the VC. If not, I think Dacos goes quite well. So I like that. Tom, I'm just curious, who would you have had the captaincy on if Baz didn't get it done? Did you know?
X for
Big
me.
X.
I think he's the safest C in the game at the minute. I don't see something huge from X this week, but I see a 3-figure score. And from a fallback C, that's all you're really looking for. Make sure you bank that 3 figures. Like I'm a 110 guy as well, and I was last year. I even took 109s last year, and I still averaged 127 captains for the year. You just don't.
Talk about a flex.
That was a massive flex. I'll give you that. But you just don't need to be greedy. Like 120. I took 123 from Baz last week, and it cost me 30 points, but it meant I could sleep easy.
But looking at the numbers, like more often than not, it's not going to cost you points. More often than not, you're going to gain points. Like it was obviously a week where a few guys went massive. But how many 150s have we had this year, right? We haven't actually had very many at all. So, yeah, I think that was definitely the right play. And yeah, a few people ask you about taking Baz 126 or risk it with Nick Martin. You take the 126. You bank the points.
Nick Martin could put a 70. Nick Martin could be a 70 tonight. I think he's going to be great. I'm bringing him in. But Nick Martin,
you just don't know what's going to happen, right? You just don't know what's going to happen. Like, what if they run someone?
He could be playing deep forward. Who knows what Brad Scott's going to do?
Yeah, exactly.
Or it could be some kind of tag that happens or something. Just take your good score and run with it.
Exactly. Beautiful. Let's get stuck into your questions. So if you are tuning in live, as always, Chuck, to make it easier, just because there's a lot of chat going on here talking about all the stuff we've been going through, chuck your question at the very bottom of the live chat, and we'll go through answering those questions from now. But we do have a super chat from Exception, so thank you, mate. He's saying box in, so can't loop Lindsay or Filippo at M8. I will say with this one, Filippo didn't train today. Apparently, I'm just getting up the quote here. Apparently, a St Kilda fan that was at training, Jordy, obviously one of our fanatics, sent this to us, said that he left the track early, went into the rooms to be assessed, came out to test himself, but clearly failed as he left the track again. Surely he's in doubt. And then Trent Canese posted on Twitter. Don't know if he's like a Channel 9 reporter, but Tom Morris reposted this saying, Mateus Filippo dislocated a finger on Sunday against the Eagles. Unrelated to that injury, he also left the track early today. Clubs still believe he'll play against Gold Coast. Regardless, it is a close watch given the interrupted preseason. So, or interrupted preparation, sorry. So that is just a watch in the final game. I feel like
do you have a forward loop? Because you might, with Philippou, you might be able to do some kind of look at a forward tonight, play forward, bench Philippou, and move one of your mid forwards into the midfield. If you have a forward option, like who's forwards that were playing it? See, the other issue is all the forwards teams playing late because like your Halls and your Clearys, maybe a Cooper Simpson you can have a look at on Sat if you've got him. But for that question, I think with that I'd just take Lindsay because Lindsay does play first. I know it might be jumping at shadows.
I was going to say that as well. I'd probably go for Lindsay just this week,
I don't see them that different in score, if I'm honest.
I think Lindsay showed sign, and I think people have been obviously a bit harsh on Lindsay. Obviously, he had a couple of bad weeks, right? But he had a game where he got injured on 12 and a game where he got managed for like 50% or 60% game time, right? But outside that, those 2 weeks were the only 2 weeks he'd actually gone below 60 for us. So he's actually been a really consistent rookie for us besides that 2-week stretch in the injury. The other games, he's shown ability that he can pop an 80, right? This is the MCG against Sydney. Sydney haven't been as hard this year to score against. I actually think Lindsay could post a respectable 65 to 75 type score this week. Had a 40-point call last week against Brisbane at the Gabba, which pretty tough game. And we know wingers can be hot and cold. If he can get hot, we know that he can score very, very well. So I think he can actually go all right this week here. We've got this one. So Juice is actually asking specifically, Tom, for you. He's saying, Tom, what do you think of Brady Hough as an option?
Give me 20 seconds to do a bit of checking how much he is.
Oh, good. I'll ask Guesty this question, though, because I think we'll get this one. So Ben's asking Warner or Bolton. It's Warner, Guesty, for this one, surely.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, agreed. Tom, you found it?
Yeah, so he's 605k defender. Round 15 by, which seems to be quite rare, but unless you've got a lot of Adelaide boys. I don't hate it. He's definitely going to play in the midfield, and I'm almost certain he's going to tag Jordan Dawson, or try to tag Jordan Dawson. I don't hate it. If that's the best you can get to, I don't hate it. It's not someone I'd make an effort to go for, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I'm looking at his score, the 4 scores since he's played midfield. 81 against Hawthorn, which is good, but then a 46 against Melbourne, then 69 against Richmond, 108 against St Kilda. So the 108 is great. I feel like this could be almost like a play you go next week. If you see another good score from him this week, I know he'll increase in price a bit more, but with a few cheaper options, 3 trades.
You're seeing the 24 break even, aren't you? And you go in, you know what? I don't hate it. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to recommend it, but I'm not going to talk you out of it.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to summarise that one, I reckon. Moonboy, Dawson versus value play of Newcombe, Steele, or Anderson. So, Guesty, where would you go here? Would you pay up for Dawson, or would you go for a Newcombe, Steele, or Anderson? And I'll rule out Newcombe because I know you don't like Newcombe. So
I was stuck thinking about that last question.
See, I'm a Newcombe owner.
So I just...
What are you talking about?
Brady Hough. Yeah. Look, I mean, look, if it's all you can get, then sure. But I would be looking at maybe, could I say a Shy Bolton or a Callum Mills if you can get up a little bit more? I mean, just look at this,
I
right?
prefer him to Callum Mills. I prefer Hoff to
really?
Callum
Yeah,
Mills.
right.
I've got to see Callum Mills. Like, we've beat Philippou and Kiddie. We've seen this twice with players we were keen on who had no pre-season and have come back, then been sore, then been managed, played. I know he's the captain of the football club and he's a more senior player within that.
So what about a Hoff and a Bolton?
I prefer Bolton all day.
Yeah.
All day Bolton on those two. But this is 605k. This is priced at 62. It's like
130k difference essentially.
It's that. Yeah. I'm not, as I said, I'm not recommending it this week. I'll have a look, and if he scores an 80 this week,
could be an option
do
to
that,
buy.
and then it could be an option of that kind of sidewaysy get a rookie off. But he's probably going to score like a better rookie anyway. So yeah.
But yeah, Guesty with
What
that
was the actual
question,
you asked
Dawson.
me?
Yeah, Dawson versus
Dawson
value
or
play,
Newcombe?
which was Newcombe,
you've
Steele,
got
or
Dawson
Anderson
every day of the week. If you can
Well, yeah,
afford Dawson, go to Dawson.
over Steele and Anderson as well.
I
think Anderson's the one out of those three I'd go. So it's Anderson and save a bit of money, or Dawson. Dawson's got West Coast this week, which is great. Then he goes he goes Sydney, Brisbane, Hawthorn, then the bye, but then he goes Richmond, Melbourne, post bye. So you want him latest round 16. And I think, because part of me wants to say, get Dawson this week because you can get him, all right? And it's like, but I did that with Dacos. And look what Dacos dished after me, right? That's
sure, it's not the value play, that's for sure. But I thought it was Newcombe and Dawson were the only options, so I was.
Yeah, I said not Newcombe because I know you wouldn't have got. I know you wouldn't have gone Newcombe. There.
But what about if they can use DPP? Would you feel? Because I'm just not. I mean, I'd love to think that Jack Steele's kind of getting back to his best, but I'm not convinced. Noah Anderson, I worry about his volatility, and I'm also worried about that game style at Gold Coast. Would you be better off trying to use DPP and get like a Jack Sinclair? I mean, I think he's probably one of the key value plays this week.
I'd be going for Sinclair.
Well, you probably don't even need a DPP, right? Because you defend a mid. So
that's the move.
Yeah, I think that's the move.
That's the move. Yep. That's the move.
But if Moon Boy's already got Sinclair though, maybe you go for Dawson and pay up because he looks like the number one mid at the moment.
Yeah.
But Anderson's a guy I like as well. I think Mitch is doing it. So obviously Mitch is a good coach and he's bringing him in. So
I do Anderson. I just don't think we have enough cash to pay up for Jordan Dawson. If you're absolutely flush with cash, 23.7, 23.8 mil, but I'm at 23.5 and I'm feeling the pinch. I don't like.
You're at 23.5 and feeling the pinch, mate. How do you reckon?
That's what
Guesty feel under 23 mil.
But that's what I mean. Like,
yeah.
As much as I would love Jordan Dawson, I want to get my philosophy at the minute is get my rookies off field because Zach Reed's got a 30 coming to a place near you soon, and I don't want a bar of it.
I don't think it is. I got rid of him, so he's going to keep going. He's going to keep going well. But like the other thing as well is if Moonboy, if you're looking like a Bont in round 13 and you want Bont, you can't get Dawson and then Bont in a couple of weeks. So it's probably like you take one or the other. And Bont's dropping a tiny bit in price and has turned up in every game, bar the one he got subbed out in. And his run after bye, he's got Hawthorn, but then he goes St Kilda, Richmond, Sydney, North, Adelaide, which is a very nice run. And I think Sydney won't be tagged either. I think Ed Richards is the guy they're tagging now. So yeah, maybe go Anderson, save the cash, and maybe look at a Bond if you're looking to part for someone next week. But yeah, good question there. Like that one. Your boy Zenith, Tom, is saying, who do I trade in with 820k instead of Bolton? I'm not that confident on him. So your boy Zenith is not agreeing with me and Guesty, saying he's not looking at Bolton. But a lot of people are looking at this area, 870k and down, where there's not many players we're looking at. If you went to Grind Myers last night, congrats. You picked a good pick there. If you went Tom Stewart, you'd be pretty happy with the 92. But Tom, who would you go below 820k?
Yeah.
Is it? But I know your boy Zenith is saying not Bolton, but is Bolton one of those guys that you take the chance on, or would you go somewhere else?
I think out of those guys, I think I prefer Bolton. I think. apart from that, I'm really, really struggling. I'm just looking down the list, and there's some pretty horrible names. There's just nobody that's jumping out at me as being like, you know what, that could work. Like the person for me with the least risk profile is Bolton. As weird as that sounds, like he's got to. Because who are you bringing in? A Dylan Moore? Not doing that.
We've seen more from a Bolton, and as Guesty said earlier as well, Freo are winning. They're playing well. Bolton's like people are saying that Bolton's had CBAs all year, right? But this is a different role. This was a CBA role at the start of the year where he'd start in the CBA and then he'd go deep forward and be the one out forward. Whereas now he's playing as a midfielder and actually playing around the ground. He will have stints forward. He's not going to play. He's still going to be 50-50, right? He's going to have chances. But that 22 they scored against St Kilda, that's the worst game I reckon I've seen Freo play probably ever. Like, they were awful. And that's the only game. He scored a 66 against the Crows. Every other game besides that, he's gone 80 plus. So, like, he can put a stinker up like at any point, but he can also go 1-19 like he did last week. So I think it's that risk v reward.
The only player that I would possibly mention is a Miles Bergman, but he's got his bye next week.
And Radigal's out this week as well. Actually, who did Port? That was the other thing I was going to look at. Who did Port bring in? Because Bergman I like. He's got the bye next week, which obviously isn't ideal and you probably want to wait. But who came out? So Asava and Lockie Jones and Sin were all out, and they brought in Zerk Thatcher, Atkins, and Hugh Jackson. Is Hugh Jackson a defender? He's a mid. So they've only
he's a mid on the game, which means absolutely nothing.
Yes, they've got Burton, Zerk Thatcher, Rosie, Bergman's listed at back pocket, Alira and Logan Evans. Sorry. Then on the bench they've got Atkins as the only defender. I think Bergman's playing defense this week. Looking at this team, they've got me, they got Butters, they got Wines, they got Drew. Boak may even have a CBA or two there. I think even Power Pepper maybe. I'd probably want to wait till after the bye.
If you really, really, really don't want Bolton, either you either go Cooper Simpson and just take the best rookie on the board, or Bergman. But I think I'd take Bolton. Yeah. At that point.
We got a super chat here from Tom Oz. Tom Oz 1 saying, we'll go to Tom for this one, seeing it's fitting there. Merritt 863k mid, or Sinclair and Warner, Heaney, Sarong. Which option?
Option B and probably Warner.
I would definitely agree with that one there. We've already talked about the 863k range is not really where we want to be shopping, but if you can go Sinclair, Warner, lock that in.
And
definitely.
Price points, Sinclair's are going up and Merritt's is going down. I know it's this week, Merritt is going to hurt you, but I think there's still 15 weeks left, 14 weeks left. There's so long to go. We're not round 24, 1 week plays. We've got to think what's going to be better for our team for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, exactly. What do we got here? Matt435 asking specifically for you as well, Tom. He's saying Anderson and Peatling or Martin and Bolton?
Anderson and Peatling, or what was the other one, sorry?
Anderson and Peatling or Martin and Shea Bolton?
Martin and Bolton.
I'm there as well. Apparently Peatling was training, didn't train yesterday, from what I read.
Yes, I think he'll be fine, but I brought Peatling in 2 weeks ago. I'm not loving it. I don't think he's got the I am a midfielder role that I quite want. I think it was super low tog last week. It was absolutely ridiculous. He spent two stints a quarter on the bench, like horrible tog. So I think I'd go Martin as that top of the line, and then Bolton as that player on the up.
Yeah. Guesty, Phil is asking Dunkley or Merritt?
What's the price difference? I mean, initially it's straight away to Dunks, but he might just be priced too high. 106.2, so what's that? It's only, 50 grand more than Merritt or something like that?
Yeah, about that, yeah. They've got the round 16 boss, so you can't even split them.
I think I'm leaning Dunkley. I'm leaning Dunkley, and primarily based on what you were talking about before in terms of run. Although I'm not entirely sure what Dunkley's run looks like, but
Hawthorn, Essendon, Adelaide, GWS, Geelong before his bye.
It's a bit up and
Middling.
down. Yeah.
Not horrible, not great.
No, yeah. I think I'd be going Dunks.
Yeah, I think safer is Dunks, but we're talking about cash and whatever. But then again, because as I say, Merritt's will lose a lot more cash as well, so maybe go Dunkley there for the safety. Michelle Lee, more peripheral cat content, please, is what Michelle's saying. So if anyone's watching on the video, Tom's cat keeps coming in every now and again, and we'll go back away.
I'm just trying to keep him off the keyboard because he likes to sit on keyboards.
Oh, that's funny. Ryan is asking, Tom, get rid of rookies losing cash. Oh, no, hang on. He's just commenting somewhere before. Okay, yep, all good. But getting... we've got a super chat that just came in here from Smixy. Thank you, mate. McRae to Martin and Clary to Nando, or McRae to Zorko and Red Dot Hayes to Simpson. Tom, where would you go here?
You know what? If you have 4 or more red dots, I'd do the second one. If you have less than that, do the first one. I quite like Anderson. I looked at him quite heavily this week. It just doesn't quite fit because I need a forward this week, like most people do.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I reckon that's a really good point, actually, because I was struggling to split that. But yeah, I reckon the red dots probably gets it done for you there. I'm just waiting to see who's the sub tonight because Richmond, obviously, Essendon and Richmond, 54 minutes away. No sub at all on the AFL app, and obviously the AFL subs account hasn't put anything up. So I'm assuming that the subs haven't come through yet, but I'm just hoping that Trainer's not the sub because then that would cause even more drama.
Noah Bolter out. I don't think that's going to happen.
Agreed. And he got subbed out. I think that was his rest off a 5-day break, but you just never know the way that this season's going. Henry V's asking, Guesty, would you go Sinclair over Nick Martin? It's about a 50K difference.
This is a great question. Sinclair is just such good value. I think we're going to get a really good pop score out of Martin tonight. It's certainly a game that's shaping up for him, but at the same time, I'm still not 100%. I still don't really like that kind of wing role. Still moving up into the forward line a fair bit. So yeah, I think for the value, I'd be going Sinclair. But sorry, what was that, Tom?
No, Tom was just saying subs just came out. Ben Hobbs and Maurice Rioli are the subs. So anyone that's got Trainer, breathe a sigh of relief. We've dodged one there, so which is good. Look, it's a great question. I'm actually Martin over Sinclair. I still think the round 16 by defender forward and the pop score this week. But yeah, I think Sinclair is also a very good option.
Yeah.
Like people have asked me, like in terms of like in the Patreon Q&A, a few people saying, should I do this person to Martin and this person to Sinclair? I'm like, if you can get Sinclair and Martin this week, they are great trades. Lock them away and lock them in. So it's a great question.
I think with cash, and most people like to start. I kind of think it's about the other trade, right? Like if it's this is exactly what I'm throwing up, right? Like, is it a Sinclair and a Luke Jackson, or is it like a Martin and a Shea Bolton? It's kind of, I think it's about that second trade that's got to make the decision.
Yep. Very good point.
Yeah, I like that.
Louis O'Leary, Thomas saying McRae to Chad Warner and a rookie to Cooper Simpson. So obviously Cooper Simpson, is he a guy that you'd be happy to jump on?
No, he's the best of the downgrades this week. And I agree with the consensus that this is probably the last week you can get on him.
I still think you can get it. I still think you can get on next week. With lack of rookies, depending on what we see next week.
I don't see him as a great scorer. I see him as a decent scorer. I see him as a 55, 60 guy. So once we're starting to get towards 400K, you're starting to get less upside and less quick cash gen. So if he has a pop score this week, then great. He'll still be there next week. But if he continues his 60s, this is probably the last week to get on.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Mo is saying Angus Clark if you already have Simpson. I I don't know if you can jump into any of these 230K rookies with any confidence.
Harry Roaston is probably one.
I think I was going to say I'd agree. What I was listening to the Ball Boys before this and what Mitch said. I think Rouston is probably the guy you do go for the round 16 buy, and you just expect that he's coming for Finn Callaghan. So he would be the guy. He plays the first game tomorrow, so you get a look to see if he's named the sub. Looking at the bench, he's obviously one of a couple that could easily be the sub. So you look at that, but yeah, maybe. Well, Angus Clark obviously isn't the sub tonight, right? So you could always just go, well, I'm just going to launch into that tonight, knowing he's not the sub. So that is a play, and he's also got the round 16 buy. So maybe it is Angus Clark. Actually, looking at it now, if you're looking at the two, because Angus Clark's named on field on a wing, so probably got to take a punt, right? So maybe you go Angus Clark just because you know he's not sub. Because if Rouston's a sub, then you're probably going and looking. So I think Angus Clark, I'd probably go, but Rouston's probably the other guy that I don't mind as well. Andrew Griffiths saying McAuliffe is a massive watch for the buys. Yeah, he's a watch tonight, I reckon. Yeah, he's not the sub again, and he's pretty cheap, so someone definitely to be watching. Ben saying Bolton is a good pick, Guesty. So let's hope Ben is right, and he can get it done. Ben. But Matt's got this question, Guesty. Instead of going Horn Francis to Shea Bolton, can I play a 3 rookies down back, being Reed, Trainer, and Bice, and bring in a Simpson on the bench and bank 400K? I don't like anyone under 800K like Bergman, Shea, Mills, Filippo, Dylan Moore.
You can do it. You can. And you can. There's more reason you can do it this week by the fact we have 3 trades next week. So it's not like it would have to be extremely unlucky to get 3 bullets. So you have that extra trade so that if you have to do a sideways one, you can. And then you've still got a 1 up, 1 down with your cash. So I think you can. Just don't be upset if you have a bit of a down week points-wise this week. Because you're obviously playing an extra rookie.
I think the only way that I'm doing that, because the only way I can do that is if Matt Carroll tomorrow for Carlton against Giants, so I don't hold a lot of faith, but if he was to pop a 70-plus score, I would consider banking a fair bit of cash, putting Sheasel back into my defence and just banking heavy cash and getting Carroll and looping him on through that way. So that would be something I'm looking at, but I guess we'll see how he goes. But yep, I think you can definitely do it if you're not keen on anyone. Isaac Tierney says, who's the sub on the St Kilda bench, boys? Thinking it's Hunter Clark. So looking at the St Kilda bench, there's a few guys. It could be Boxall, it could be Travalia, it could be Hunter Clark. It could even be a Max Hall, as good as he's played. He hasn't had a rest yet. Maybe they rest him for this week. Who knows? But probably not. It's probably Wilson and Hall are safe. It's probably one of Travalia, Clark, or Boxall. I actually think Boxall's least likely out of the 3 to get it because he's just a mid. Whereas Travalia can play wing, defence, and even half forward. Clark can play multiple positions as well. I know coaches do like a bit of flexibility with their subs, but we'll find out. It'll be one of those 3, and hopefully for anyone that has to play Boxall on field, it's not him. Kenny Morris can get Martin and Merritt, or Martin and Sinclair have double DPP. So, Tom, would you go Sinclair over Merritt? I probably would,
My question back is, are you going to VC Merritt? If yes, get him in.
But they're getting Martin, so you can just VC Martin instead.
I think I prefer Merritt over Martin.
This week, VC, yeah.
This week. I think it's Martin and Sinclair, though.
Yeah, I agree.
Guesty.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think you play the value play. You'll bring Merritt in next week for maybe a couple of weeks' time or something like that if you're that keen on him.
Yeah. Just using the projecting on the app, if he goes 103, he goes down 35K, does Merritt. He's going to be under a mil next week. The decent performance. I think every man as his dog will get on it next week.
And then you got a bit of cash next week. A bit more cash next week. I mean, we don't know what's going to be happening with the Stewart. Like, there might be a little upgrade you need to do from like a Luke Trainer or a Riley Bice,
Mills,
like that. So having a bit of cash up your sleeve for next week, I think, is going to be handy, even though we have 3 trades.
Yeah, like that.
Brad McLeod, best target in any line except Rucks. It's 874K. Yeah, so we're answering this a bit before, Brad. Me and Guesty are probably going to say Shea Bolton because we're both going Shea Bolton.
No,
and
Luke
that's
Jackson. Luke Jackson. Did you say 874?
Oh yeah, Luke Jackson's cheaper, but I guess Jackson
857.
Jackson is like a pretty much almost a guaranteed trade within the next month. Whereas I guess in a world Bolton isn't.
I'm not as hot on Jackson.
He's got the teeny this week, Vicentini, solo ruck.
He does, but then he goes into is it Gold Coast next week?
I've got Wits, yeah.
I'm just petrified that you're bringing someone of that price basically to keep them a while. Like you're basically happy to have them in your team at the end after the buys as your F6, for example, or F5.
If Brad's got Cherry, does that maybe boost it because you can use him as cover for next week? I know it doesn't really matter because 21 to 22 probably doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, right? But
yeah, and that's something that I spoke about on the Spaces on Hat Chat on Wednesday. 21 to 22 doesn't really make a difference. Like you're talking maybe 5 or 10 points.
Yeah,
like between your 18th and your 19th best player. So, yeah, I think I prefer Bolton to Jackson, but I'm not going to talk. I think Jackson's the second choice. So
you save a bit of cash as well with Bolton as well. So
yeah.
as Guesty said, bit of cash next week might be pretty good to bring in a couple of players there. So yep, don't mind it. And I'm glad you're saying Bolton, Tom, because hopefully I'll take an 80. I guess me and Guesty will take an 80. If he gets an 80, we'll be like, yeah, cool. Yep, we got away with it. Detonator saying, hey, fellas, thoughts on Callahan and McRae to Martin and Merritt with 250K in the bank?
That's just a brag.
Yeah.
Of course.
He must have banked a lot of cash last week because obviously you're not using too much this week. Yeah, if you can get those two this week, you're ticking them off. As we said probably before, if you can go Sinclair and bank 300K, we'd probably go there. But yeah, Martin and Merritt is still good.
With that much in the bank, I'd almost be like, can you go to like a Dawson if you don't own him? Or can you just go and lock in
Dunkley?
A Dunkley. I think, a Dunkley, Dawson. I think you can afford to go that next layer up.
Just depends what the rest of the team's looking like. How many rookies on field? Probably that's
exactly.
a good one. Yeah, if you've got a few rookies off and you don't have many more left on field, you've got like a Reed and Ashcroft and you don't have many mid prices. Yeah, maybe you do go a Dunkley or a Dawson. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, maybe they need to save the cash for that big upgrade next week. So interesting one there. Andrew Griffiths is saying trainers are worried, guys. Hope we don't play him full. So I'm assuming Andrew's a Richmond fan. I don't know. He's played at half back. I can't see them playing him in the forward line. Like they've only got one defender named on their Tom Brown as well. But Tom Brown's played forward as well. Tom Brown's a guy that actually plays everywhere.
Caleb Smith-in is a worry. Caleb Smith-in is a worry. I do see what he's saying. Like you're bringing Caleb Smith in, and there's only Steely Green who's a defender forward on that bench, but I still think he's playing back.
Yeah, I think he's still playing back, but yeah, it's a small flag, yeah, for sure.
He might go up onto a wing.
Yeah, potentially a wing as well. Studley saying, Bales, you doing a watch song? Yes, I am. So anyone that's tuning in now and wants to head over, we have 174. So if 100 people want to chuck over to the watch song straight after, then feel free. We're watching the game tonight. Hopefully, it should be a good one. It was a good one there last night. We'll go one more question to wrap up. We'll go this one here, Will Hudson, because I've seen this name. Tom, could I bring in Ryan Marrick? If not, what other options are there for 800K forward? So I heard Luke and Mitch talking about this, and Luke made a good point, is that I guess people are in sort of desperate times in a way where like they're trying to get someone that they're happy with. And Ryan Marrick hasn't actually been too far off of the bottom of the top six. He's averaged 85, I think, his last 5. McGovern is out for, obviously, we don't know how long for. Hopefully he's back sooner rather than later for him. But last 3, 109, 92, 84. He's got a pretty good run to his bye. He's got the kick-ins. He's 60K more than a Bolton. For those that don't have a Ryan Marrick, Tom, could they go for a Ryan Marrick? as a buy play. Around 15
Yes.
buy.
Yes.
And I'd almost say I'd rather Marek over Bolton personally. You're just not going to get as much value, I don't think, with Marek, but maybe
He's
get in
safer,
there.
I believe. I don't think his
like-
role's moving. So
Yeah, agreed. Agree with that one. So that means we will wrap up for tonight. But as I said, I'm doing a watch long very, very shortly. So if you guys have got more questions, apologies when you get to your question, but I'll be answering a heap more questions in about 20 minutes over on YouTube. So go over there, tune in. I'll answer questions, watch the game together, hopefully see some big scores, particularly from a Nick Martin as my VC tonight. That'd be nice. But if you do want a guaranteed answer as well, and you can't tune to watch long tonight, head over to our Patreon, patreon.com/AFL Fantasy Fanatics. Get guaranteed answers there. You can get a team review as well through the Ask Me on Q service. Each Patreon member gets one of those per week for free through the Ask Me on Q service. So if you'd like to become Patreon member today, click the link in the description or the podcast if you're listening back to that. But yeah, Tom, for the people that missed it before, your trades?
Yep, so I'm doing McRae and Daniel out for Martin and Heaney.
Yep, tick. And you took the Baz VC 126, so you can put your feet up with the captaincy this week. Guesty, what are you doing with your trades for people that missed it and your VC and C?
Well, I've still got the Nick Martin and the Shea Bolton locked in at the moment. I haven't changed that, but I'm still, throwing up with Jack Sinclair and Luke Jackson, and and then, well, depending on my trades, it might be a Nick Martin or a Nick Dacos VC into a Dawson C.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Isaac Tierney saying it's wet at the MCG. Okay, that's interesting.
Nick Martin, hey?
Yeah.
Are you worried about the marks?
No, because I could go Sinclair and Jacks if I really wanted to be safe with that. If it's raining at the MCG, let me know. I need to know this. This might change bloody trades. I don't want it. No, if I change it and it bloody doesn't and he goes massive, I can't. I'm going to keep it. No, I'm going Merritt in for McRae and Horn Francis down to Shea Bolton, bank about 80k, and my VC is on Nick Martin tonight. And I'll be going captain into Jordan Dawson. If it does look extremely wet, I'll go VC Cherry into Dawson. But I guess we'll sort of see. So, but yeah. Anyway, Tom, thank you very much for jumping on, mate. Very much appreciate it. Where can the people find you? On mute, mate.
Yep. You can find me on X at Tom_Hales_. Hit me up if you want me to answer anything. Always around. So yeah.
Yeah, beautiful, mate. Guesty, where can the people find you?
Tim Guest, AU.
And you can find me at BAILSDT, and you can find us at AFL Fantasy Fans across the socials. As I said, I'll be on for a watch song very shortly, then also watch song for the North and Collingwood game tomorrow night. But we will be back on Sunday night for our round review after the final game of the round, which is St Kilda and Gold Coast. Looking forward to wrapping up the round and seeing how we all went. Hopefully it is a good weekend after Carnage week that we have had. So thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Good luck this week, and we'll catch you guys on Sunday night. So thanks, everyone. Catch you then. See ya.